Welcome back. It is Wake Up Woodward. And you know what, Detroit Dabber? I agree with you too, man. I love all of our teams, and they are all percolating right now, man. Hey, you know what?
We do got some super chats to clear up.
What'd you say?
I said we do got some super chats to clear up as well too before we
go right
moving.
there. Yeah, definitely go right there.
Because once again, shout out to all you guys as well too. Flannel's favorite person in the chat, one Mr. Robert Sloppy Toppenheimer.
Hey, my dog. Shout out.
Chase, why you gotta do that? Making it worse.
He says,
it's a beautiful
get
act.
my team done games on national TV, man. I think he means damn games on national TV.
Yeah,
but yeah, get them some national TV games. Come on right now.
It ain't happening this year, but next year, absolutely.
Listen, they've been taking some teams off. They need to start putting the Pistons on, especially since they got some big games. Yeah. They got some big games against some other big time teams. They need to find a way, man. They absolutely do. And you know what, JB? Before we get into this next segment, do you got the Aidan Hutchinson video?
I do got the Aidan Hutchinson video here. Let me clear these up real quick. John F. and Lord, $10. It looks like April in the D is back.
Damn right.
Keep crushing it, Woo Crew. And another $5 from Burn. Shout out once again, my guy. He says something that gets overlooked. I saw them do it to the Harden. The Pistons punish teams for flopping. Pistons are so good at it. They bait flops for turnovers. Shout out to that as well too, man, once again. But yeah, Hutch was in the building last night once again, repping the D.
Whoa. Look, we had to get the desk back down because Flannel's worlds collided in that clip there. But hey, no, it was epic to see him in the building. And you know what I always take away from whenever I see him or Dylan Larkin is that those are Michiganders. Those are hometown kids. When you see him fired up at a Pistons game, it's because you know he's rooted for them since he was a kid, just like all of us did too. And so it was dope to see him there in the building, the way that the people responded to him. And just to know, what a lot of people liked about the clip is just before they cut from him, he gave the crowd a wink, man, to the Jumbotron. So it's like, you know, he's already into that mystique. I can't wait to see what he brings to the football field. But after that, if you look at the score, after that, the Pistons went on a run. So shout out Aidan Hutchinson, man.
I was about to say, that score was an 8-point lead at that point.
Yeah.
That's the best part. You see when Hutch was on, it was an 8-point lead, and the Pistons were able to win by 20. I'm not saying Hutch had anything to do with it. It's just the coincidence that you see that 8-point game, final score, 20-point win, hold the Celtics to less than 100, hold them to 42 second-half points. It's just, I can't stop saying it because it's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful. And you know what? I know we want to be able to highlight some of these other players as well as it relates to, and maybe coaches, these postseason awards. Weezy D313 said this. Pritchard got his 6-man stole by Bees last night. It reminded me of like just walking up to Lauren London and taking that chain off of her. Somebody, hey, JB, cook that up. Beasley, cook that up because Beasley just snatched that from Pritchard. That's straight up.
That's why I don't want to hear about him. I don't want to hear about no Norman Powell. None of it. No
more. If Pritchard wasn't hitting the three, I'm going to be for real with you. I didn't know what he was doing out there on the court. But Malik Beasley was diving on the floor. Malik Beasley was playing defense. Malik Beasley was getting out in transition. Malik Beasley was hitting threes. Malik Beasley was getting the LCA in Detroit fired the frick up, man, all single night. And it was epic to see, like, this guy, he wants the spotlight, which is awesome. He wants all the smoke, all the noise, and most importantly, he wants to put on for Detroit. He's another one of those guys that's from here. He talked about it in the post-game press conference too. So it's awesome to see a guy like Malik Beasley show out like that. And part of me wonders if there's some part of him where those narratives are in their minds as well. When you step out on that court and know, I got a chance to go out here up against another person that everybody's saying is the best guy off the bench. Skip that. That's Malik Beasley.
Hey, it is Malik Beasley. And to me, Malik Beasley last night, and I feel like I'm saying this a lot about certain Pistons, which tends to happen when you beat the defending champions by 20. I thought Malik Beasley played his best all-around game of the season. He did what he always does. He was just an absolute assassin sniper, however you want to say it, from three. 6 of 11. But that man was getting out in transition. He got a steal and a block. He got 5 rebounds. He got putbacks.
Well, that dunk for Malik Beasley was crazy.
Absolutely. And then that one play where it looked like he was in between an alley-oop and he just ended up just putting it up off the glass, which was awesome for him that he still made that because he made it more difficult than it had to be. And then he goes down the floor and he does that whatever like walk he's doing. You guys can't see it, but it was a pretty epic. But yeah, no, Peyton Pritchard, I'm not going to pretend that he was bad because he did shoot the ball well from 3. He did have 18 points, but you're right. As far as impact, Malik Beasley clears, and Malik Beasley, even when you just look at the counting stats, he was better. In terms of the counting stats, he was as impressive as anybody on the floor. And that, to me, was a Sixth-Man of the Year statement. And I think it actually makes it hit even more that it's not like Peyton Pritchard gave you 5 points on one of four from 3. He played pretty well in a lot of ways, but you could just see that Malik Beasley coming off the bench just provided so much more last night, provided so much more energy and instant offense than Peyton Pritchard could even dream of last night. Respect to Peyton Pritchard, but I want to see those odds have Malik Beasley at number 1 now, because that was a statement, and he was so much better than Peyton Pritchard last night that it's not even funny.
You're preaching over there, man, because, yeah, you don't want to disrespect the type of shooter that Pritchard was, but when you looked at the overall impact on the game, I'm glad that you laid it out that way. Every aspect of the game, Malik Beasley put his stamp there, and Peyton Pritchard couldn't say the same last night. And when you talk about what these – when you talk about like Cade and the most improved player of the year race, when you talk about JB Bickerstaff coach of the year, I don't know, and Malik Beasley, 6th man of the year, I get the whole, well, we just can't give him the 3, and I get that's what they traditionally do, but the Pistons are going to make this very, very difficult for them to screw them if they continue to do this, because we saw, team of the week, right? Team of the week. Look at what the Pistons are doing. One of the hottest teams in the NBA, but they ain't beat nobody. That's what they went on and said. It's like the backhandedness. They can't just go and just say, here you go. But that's the way it's always been. That Detroit versus everybody, that's the way it's always been. We always have to go out there and get it ourselves, and the Detroit Pistons are taking it. What up, though, Stick? Godfather's in the building. They're going out there and they're taking it, man. And I do believe that as you're talking about coming down the close of this season now, 23 games left to go and a lot riding on the line. I'm sorry, like the Pistons and that defense, I'm not really in a single game, I'm not afraid of anybody on their roster. Yeah. It's what kind of made me bullish about even when Jaden Ivey went down. I thought, you know what, they still got some dogs on the squad that can step up. I didn't know to some of the degrees. We're looking at some of this. They're exceeding my expectations by far, and I'm glad to say that. But I did believe that these dogs would be able to. I thought Tobias would be able to at least settle into his norm and things of that nature. Jalen Duren taking that step forward has been, I think, one of the biggest surprises for me. Like Assar, I thought he could take a leap, and it's amazing what he's doing. But seeing Jalen Duren mid-season go from literally 20 games and not averaging a double-double to you would be surprised if he doesn't get one now. Yeah. It's insane right now for this. The especially, I don't even want to call him supporting cast. I think it's Cade has been so good and leapt up to places where he's only putting up stats, only him, LeBron, Jokic. He's an all-star. They had to fast-track this. People are now saying, is it first-team All-NBA for Cade now? I'm seeing this from national people. I think he's been so good, and that those young players haven't had the right coaching. Now we're starting to see guys like Duren and Assar. I'm sorry, those guys are young stars to me. I'm just going to call it like it is. The success has been underpinned by these young players taking these steps forward. When you look at what Assar Thompson is doing defensively, when you look at what Jalen Duren has been able to do defensively in the lob game, dunking the ball, rebounding the ball, this team, these young players, man, I'm going to say it, they're young stars. They might not be to the level that we see Cade at right now, but I don't want to discount who these young players are right now.
If Assar Thompson plays the whole season, I think he's getting to the point where you can't deny him first-team All-NBA. Like I said, I don't think he's going to get it. I don't think he's even eligible for
All-NBA or all defense?
All defense.
Defense. Oh, God.
Yeah,
defense.
First team all defense. Yeah, we got you.
Mark Royal said we call these guys the show us Pistons.
I got a little ahead of my skis right there. All first team, all defense. Let me reiterate that. And yeah, you mentioned Jalen Duren as well. We talk about the Pistons and their rebounding advantage. Well, who leads the Pistons in rebounds? Who led them in rebounds last night? Who led them in offensive rebounds? Who was consistently getting open for Cade to find him for dunks and layups? It was Jalen Duren, including a stretch where he made a back-to-back to help extend the Pistons lead to 10. I believe he made it 81-71. And also, Jalen Duren, man, those second chance opportunities, those putbacks, it was Jalen Duren. So yeah, he's another one that's just been unreal in the month of February. And it's funny because this game was such a masterclass and it was such a great win over the defending champions that Jalen Duren almost gets lost in the shuffle, but he played great as well. Another double-double, another game where he was finishing Cade Cunningham assists, another game where he was rebounding offensively and defensively. Just, he did it all as well. He did exactly what you needed him to do that night.
Yeah, and KG, I got to go to you as well. I know you were saying something before we were going to break, but you know what these other players are doing to step up around Cade, even in light of different injuries. It's not just Jaden Ivey being out. It's like, wow, we got Dennis Schroeder. He's fitting in nice, and he doesn't play last night. But you don't even recognize that he didn't play based on how well this team was moving offensively.
And that has been the difference. We all knew Cade could be what he is today, and of course he had to go out there and prove it. But the fact that he actually has teammates he can rely on night in and night out, this is why we praise the Malik Beasley move. This is why Tim Hardaway Jr. coming to this team and being able to hold down a starting role is absolutely crucial. Tobias Harris, like I said, this month he's been absolutely balling, man. You got to give him his credit where it's due. And on top of that, they love him in the locker room. He's a leader, and he's brought a level of professionalism to that locker room and leadership. And you love to see that. But what I was alluding to is when you was talking about Ron Holland and Assar Thompson, because you remember all preseason, man. What was I telling you? Like, defensively, I know what the hell it is. We know what it is, but one of them got to know how to shoot. One of them got to know how to shoot. One of them got to know how to shoot. But I think it was because I was so preconditioned from the last regime and some of the stuff that they were doing and that you so eloquently pointed out, you know, putting them in the corner, not really playing to their strengths, you know, making them shoot jumpers when they didn't really have to. JB Bickerstaff has come in and he has made this offense to where he's playing into what these guys do best, and that is why you can see Assar Thompson holding down a starting role and not really negatively affecting the offense, even though he can't shoot, is because he's doing everything else. And the same thing with Ron Holland. You're seeing his growth, and his jumper is getting better, but it's the other things that he does that makes him so great. So, you were absolutely spot on that. Got to repent for that, but just these young stars, like you said, they have to be acknowledged.
No, and I understand it because we see the effect of a Malik Beasley around Cade Cunningham, and that's where a lot of us wanted shooting. We went to the draft. I was like, yo, get a Dalton Connect. If he's not there, obviously, Ron Holland was ninth on the board. I had Dalton Connect fifth on my big board. And so it's like this team, this organization, they had a plan for these guys. And that, to me, is what matters most. And when you bring in a coach like a JB Bickerstaff, rather than them having 2 or 3 coaches, some of them, over the previous 3 years, I think it's just allowed them to settle in and focus. Because JB Bickerstaff said this last night. It was one of his most, I think, underrated quotes of the night. He said, yes, Cade is a star, but we have many stars. And we tell our guys, you can be a star if you play your role and play within your lane.
Be a star in your role.
And they've simplified things. They've been able to, like they said at day one of media day, he's made it, we understand now what we're supposed to do. When I heard that from guys who've been in the league, Stu been in the league for a long time, bro. He's the longest tenured Piston. When I heard he's on his second contract already. When I heard that, was just like, then other players stepped to the podium and said the same thing. Like, yo, he makes the information easy to understand. We believe we know where to be. So all of the hope that we had in the Restore era for these young players, now that you're putting them on the right path, it's almost like giving them a better driving teacher, you know, and now they know how to go out there, and it's MIS out there on the lodge. You know, and that's what we see out of these players. You get to be more confident when you know where to be on the court, you know, and when you're playing your lane. Why? Because you know you're good at that. You know, I like hockey. I've even played hockey. I don't follow it like that. When it's time, it's his lane.
Exactly.
We got people that run those lanes.
And
that's what we see with the Pistons right now. People are just filling in their roles in proverbially lanes. Like, obviously, fast break lanes too. Yeah, because we see them and what they're doing. But as it relates to their own individual roles, it's like Ron Holland said it. Defense, defense, defense. Hustle, energy. Malik Beasley, nobody's going to out-hustle me. Like, nobody's have more energy than us. These are things that are underpinning why some of these role players, even in young players, are having the type of success we're having. And I thought that could be why players like Ron Holland and Assar Thompson could have early success underneath the JB Bickerstaff, man. It's still crazy to see because it's still exceeding the expectation that I thought was possible.
And you were right, Kool-Aid. They're having early success. And I think when it's all said and done, which is obviously a long time from now, when Assar Thompson, Ron Holland, Isaiah Stewart, no matter what happens in their career, no matter how long this man ends up coaching them, which I hope is for a long time, they're going to look back and be very grateful for JB Bickerstaff. Because when we talk about players who were mismanaged last year, you got to look to Isaiah Stewart. Even though I like the fact that he developed a three, we can see that I was wrong and that he's better off where he is this year, just being that maybe the best defensive backup center. I would say, without really looking at everybody else, even if I'm a little bit of a homer, looking at Isaiah Stewart's numbers, that's a pretty safe bet. You look at Assar Thompson.
You say it as the best backup center, like he's literally trending and coming up in certain stats as the best center in the league, bench or not.
Hey,
I get it. You're trying to be
for sure,
fair and balanced, but just that context.
But that's also implied that he's better than a lot of starting centers.
Damn right.
And defensively, he's better than almost every starting center. The only thing you can knock him for is that he does it in a smaller sample size than some. But still, Isaiah Stewart plays his role. Assar Thompson, we talked about him. His three-point shot last year, or lack thereof, it was more glaring because Monty Williams misused him. We've talked about so many times throughout this month of February how impactful Assar Thompson has been, both defensively and offensively, when it comes to transition, when it comes to just cutting to the basket and having Cade Cunningham find him. Assar Thompson can finish over damn near anybody, and he can guard pretty much everybody on the court, and Ron Holland as well. Ron Holland, to me, is somebody who, and this isn't a diss to him, it's more pro JB Bickerstaff. I think if he went to a different head coach, he would have had a struggle session of a rookie year. I think
might have been mismanaged.
And that's what I'm saying. JB Bickerstaff is somebody who sees a Ron Holland and is like, I love defense. I know how important defense is. Ron Holland is a guy that, even though he's got some flaws in his offensive game, will at least give you defense and hustle and transition. And that's what Ron Holland has brought. And Ron Holland, you also see, though, improvements in his three-point shot. I have more hope for his three-point shot than Assar Thompson's, for example. But still, all three of those guys are incredibly impactful on a team that went from 14 wins last year and is now 33-26, and nobody in the league wants to play the Pistons. And the way that they're trending right now, I almost expect them to get a 4 seed. Not only that, I'm going to go one step further. The Knicks will be sweating for that 3rd seed. Mm-hmm. They'll be sweating.
Because you know what's the nuclear option? We keep talking about, well, you know, you want to play the Knicks because they're going to be in Madison Square Garden. If they somehow wind up, this is the best option. Pistons hosting against
going with
the
this,
Madison
man.
Square
Stop
against the New York Knicks. That right there is the option. National TV, all eyes, and Detroit turning up for playoffs, for playoffs with hope. I'm telling you, I don't know how other people felt, but with just my perspective, when I watched the Blake Griffin-led Pistons, it was like, okay, cool, we got this. I didn't have any hope for anything on the other end of that.
Yeah, we knew what that was.
But this one, it's like it's being started by the young guys. That's what JB Bickerstaff commended last night. He was like, yeah, this is the young guys. And it was interesting because you saw Ron Holland be able to go in there at the end of the, in the second half, and it was no drop-off. Mm-hmm. It didn't look like, oh, there's a rookie out there. There weren't like rookie mistakes. These guys are just playing different. I think people looking for the drop-off or the fall-off, it's not there because they're just playing at a different pace. What did Cade say at All-Star Weekend? And we played it right here on this show for y'all. We try to bring you guys as much exclusive and first to it content as possible. We try to ask the questions that come up in our chat. Cade said it. We want to hit the ground running. We know that the other teams in the league, they like to come out and ramp up. It's crazy how they talk about this type of stuff. And it's like you see this team out there doing what they're doing. And just shout out to those vets, man. Shout out to the vets. Shout out to Beef Stew, Cade Cunningham as well, man. Just absolute star. There's just a certain aura that's going around this team, not just Cade, but around this team, and they're special right now.
They have an identity, finally.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something that we have been wanting for this team for almost 2 decades now. They finally have an identity.
Yep, and you can't win big without an identity. And when it comes to the Detroit Pistons, their identity when they're great is always something similar to this. Defense first and being the more physical team, being the team that, guys like Jason Tatum, for example, in the second half last night, they are thrown completely off their game by the defense and the physicality and Assar Thompson, et cetera, et cetera. But I want to shout out Cade Cunningham as well, because there's a lot of people that we've gotten to, and they deserve it. This team is proving to be a lot better around Cade than I think people like myself and even others in this room and others in this chat gave them credit for at the beginning of the season. But Cade Cunningham last night, even though he didn't shoot the ball well, even though you can look at the box score, which I hope none of you did, by the way. I hope you all watched. You can look at the box score and say, man, Jason Tatum maybe put up better numbers. But I still think last night was an MVP statement game. Not most improved player, MVP. And I'm not saying he's going to win it, because my caveat is always Shea and Nikola Jokic are on a different level and they're further along in their careers, and those teams are like 1-2 seed in the West. However, Cade Cunningham last night, whether it was transition, whether it was the half court, whether it was scoring himself, whether it was distributing, he was there for everything. He had an insanely impactful game. And one thing I want to shout out about Cade as well, we talk about transition. We talk about Assar Thompson, the steals, the blocks, the rebounds, leading defense to offense. But when it was time for the half court, it was Cade Cunningham that often made the plays. It was Cade Cunningham who found Assar Thompson for open looks, Jalen Duren for open looks, Ron Holland, Beef Stew. And oh, by the way, and this is what I love too, Cade Cunningham, I looked it up this morning because I'm a sicko. Each and every single one of his assists, 3 of them were for threes. 1 to Tobias, 1 to Tim Hardaway Jr., 1 to Malik Beasley. This is what I'm talking about when I say you can give the supporting cast credit for, guys like Assar Thompson, Malik Beasley, Jalen Duren, Ron Holland, et cetera, Tobias Harris for playing well. But Cade Cunningham being that facilitator, being that point guard, being that force multiplier makes all of them just a little bit better than they would otherwise be.
Look, remember what I said just the other day? And I'm going to say a bold statement. I don't know if it goes over people's heads or not, but I told people, Cade Cunningham, and you talked about it. There was a stretch in that second half where it was a Cade Cunningham show. It didn't matter who else was out there. Other stars, other Olympians, Derek White over Cade. Get that out of here.
Man,
that nonsense.
come on, dog.
But I digress. I get it. The Boston Celtics won the championship. It's a nice run for you guys. I love where the Pistons are headed.
Got to give them credit. They did win. They won the title, but last night they were the inferior team. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I hate the Celtics, though. I'm always going to hate the Celtics. And I just like with LeBron, hey, tip the cap and respect. But when you look at this squad right now, man, when you look at Cade Cunningham and the aspect of his ability to control the game, he dictates how that game goes, his pace. How many times have we heard people say, oh, he's too slow, or he needs to speed up, or he needs to this, or he needs to that? I kept telling people, like, no, this guy plays at his own pace and makes everybody else, his own team and the other team, have to play to his pace, no matter what that is. No matter what that is.
To be honest, those are the most dangerous players. The players that do play at their own pace, you can't speed them up, and they still are effective on the court.
Do you know the way he dictates the game with his own pace? Do you know what it reminds me of? Like I said, we know Ben Wallace did this from the defensive side, but it reminds me of Tracy McGrady almost on offense.
I like
Tracy
that.
McGrady was never sped up. And I'm not saying that their offensive games are the same. I'm saying the way that they play within their own pace, and everybody else was going to have to settle into that. And what you see with Cade Cunningham is there was a stretch in that second half, whether the shot is falling or not, where he literally was dictating the game. The flow of the game was in Cade Cunningham's hands. And then when they go back on defense and are able to strap up the way that they did, holding the Celtics to sub 35% shooting from three-point and from behind the arc in that second half, that's where it's just like, you know what? Then you give the ball back to a Cade. He's so efficient at distributing the ball and at scoring. That's what I'm talking about. So when you compare the number one defense up with what they're doing in transition, but then if you have to go into the half court, you're putting the ball in Cade's hands, that's why they're having such great success. They're hitting on all of those marks because Cade Cunningham, are you speeding him up?
No.
You're not.
And he's learned how to get to his spots with ease now. That's what you're starting to see, the growth of his game. He's getting whatever he wants out there. Go ahead, Sam.
It's incredible. And one of the reasons why I also look at last night as an MVP statement game for Cade Cunningham, at least in terms of him getting more votes than Jason Tatum, was it all goes back to that second half. It was a tie game at halftime.
Yeah.
The Pistons outscored the...
It shouldn't have been, but...
It shouldn't have been, but it was.
was.
The Pistons outscored the Celtics by 20 in the second half.
Celtics were hitting crazy
They were.
threes.
They were. But Jason Tatum in the second half, and I get it, if you're the Boston Celtics, a game at Detroit, they probably won't lose any sleep over it, but I still gotta point this out. In the second half, Jason Tatum was on clamps. Mm-hmm. He didn't do anything. He was very inefficient after having an efficient first half, albeit with some turnovers. In the second half, he was relatively ineffective. And in the second half, Cade Cunningham, 5 of 9 from the floor, 1 of 1 from 3, after having not his best game shooting in the first half. So that's another thing. Cade Cunningham was excellent in the second half, helped lead the Pistons to a big win. And oh, by the way, another thing about Cade too, you mentioned Tobias Harris guarding Kristaps Porzingis. Mm-hmm. Cade Cunningham took his turn at Porzingis as well. And I think that's actually smart because you look at Kristaps Porzingis, you look at the fact that he's 7'3", you look at the fact that in his prime he was nicknamed the Unicorn, and you think that might be somebody more suited for a Jalen Duren or a Beef Stew. But Kristaps Porzingis, especially at this stage in his career, he's a 7'3" guard. He almost half of his field goal attempts this year are from 3. Mm-hmm. Putting a Cade Cunningham or putting perimeter defenders on him, that's actually what the Pistons should have done, and they did do. And I got to give credit to JB Bickerstaff on that one, because games like this and situations like this, they make me fear those stretch bigs a lot less because JB Bickerstaff is making those adjustments.
Smart.
Yeah,
he's so smart. His staff is so smart. The Pistons, this is one where they caught lightning in a bottle, man. They did. Like all the moves from the front office, what Trajan Langdon did to get the right minds in, including, remember Michael Blackstone, who they brought back. Yeah. And he's a cap specialist. Mm-hmm. And you look at how they effectively maneuvered their cap in every single loophole to get Dennis Schroeder and 2 second-round draft picks for free.
And I'm telling you, the offseason, everything is in front of them. They are going to make a really good move in the offseason. I can feel it.
And you know why? Because the foundation, it is star Cade Cunningham, young player. Yeah. Who was your longest tenured drafted player and your longest tenured Piston? Isaiah Stewart. Yep. And you got a bunch of young players like Assar Thompson and Jalen Duren who could realistically take the next step into where you hear people say, yeah, dog, I can see them being an all-star. Yeah. They're going to take that next leap. You're already seeing the flashes and seeing it on display right now. Andre Drummond made all-star games. We're seeing Duren right now go out there and putting up 16 and 13 over the last however many games of the season. So it's just like these guys have the ability. It's going to be on them to continue to execute, but the types of players and workers they are, Jalen Duren said it best. Like this is – It was interesting to hear this because it changed my whole philosophy about this team even before they went on this run too. You know what? Keep the chemistry together. Keep the chemistry. Even me who was like, get a star. When you saw how this team could be underneath the JB Bickerstaff, it was like, yo, sometimes you just let something grow. Kind of like Woo Crew.
They've built
sometimes you just, and we know they gave us opportunity and time to get through it. And from that perspective, Jalen Duren was like, look, we hang out together in season. We hang out off season. We hang out off court. We like we're literally friends and brothers who support each other, and we're here for each other's success. And when you hear them in interviews, even Cade, it's always about what they can do to talk about their teammate or their brother.
They've built a culture. They've built a culture, and that's that word again that we love here in Detroit. But it seems to be the right way in regards to building our teams. You look at what the Lions have done. They started with the culture first and then brought the talent along. And now you're seeing this with the Pistons as well. Culture first, we'll get the talent, and now they are moving towards being one of the best chemistry-led teams in the NBA, man. You love to see it.
Doctor! Shout out Dr. Darius,
hey!
Dr. Detroit Radio. Bro, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate
Shout
you.
out,
Tapped
man.
in, said we're killing it. You know what?
No,
the Pistons
thank you.
are killing it. Thank you. That's a legend. Detroit, still Detroit's voice, man. Shout out to Dr. Darius, man, and holding it down. Doing the podcast, official podcast with the Detroit Pistons. He sat down with a lot of different players and Lions players like Herbs, man. So shout out to him. He's the one that made the connection. Oh, you guys saw the picture of me with Super Bowl Curbs. But that was Dr. Darius who helped set that up and let him know like what we do here at Woodward Sports for socials and all that. So, yo, Dr. Darius, man, you're killing it, brother. Continue to be that light for people out there in this industry. And continue to be, that light for Detroit Pistons.
Hey, shout out to Dr. Darius. Shout out to you guys in the chat as well, because it just feels – this was one of those days where it just felt right to give the Pistons all of their flowers
You
because
goddamn
they're top news in Detroit right now. They're on an 8-game winning streak. They're 33-26. They just defeat the defending champions by 20. And one thing I want to point out as well too, and you guys were mentioning it, is I think sometimes it takes time when you have a new coach, when you've got certain players coming off of injury like Assar Thompson. I think sometimes in-season improvement is overlooked, and that's really what you can point at when it comes to these Detroit Pistons. We even talk about a guy like Cade Cunningham, who's having a phenomenal season, who's probably going to be first or second team All-NBA. But even that being said, right now in the month of February, he's playing the best basketball of his career. So is Jalen Duren, so is Assar Thompson. Tobias Harris is playing the best ball, at least in multiple years. I will say that. He's a veteran, so I can't definitively say it's the best ball of his career, but when it comes to offense and defense, it's just everybody is taking that leap. And you see, since in the calendar year of 2025, the Detroit Pistons are one of the best teams in the NBA. They are the second best team in the East after Cleveland in the calendar year 2025. It's incredible. It's the LeBron, I can't believe this is my life meme.
Right? Oh, man. JB Smooth. Do we have any super chats to clean up? And do we have a Cade Cunningham shirt to give away?
We do. Where'd it go? Shout out to the real K77.
Big shout out.
199 said, "Bring on the Nuggets 9 straight, baby." I mean, hey, it could happen.
I'm curious
right
to
now.
see who guards Jokic, because there's a lot of possibilities. I mean,
It's got to be Stu.
I think Stu versus
It's
Jokic
gotta
is
be
going
Stu.
to be get your popcorn ready.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can't wait for that. Because when you look at, and I know people are going to roll their eyes when I bring this up, when the Nuggets play the Lakers, who's the guy that usually guards Jokic most effectively? It's actually LeBron. It's just with LeBron, he is 40 years old. He can't exert so much energy on offense and defense all game. But the point is that you've got all possibilities at your feet. It could be Stu. Hell, do you send Assar at
He can
Jokic
guard
at
1 through
times?
5. I mean,
I'm
shit.
just saying.
Maybe not in the paint, but on the perimeter, hell yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Assar,
Yeah.
with Assar, you got to worry about the fouls that Jokic
Sure.
could put on him.
That's
Oh,
true.
That's
yeah.
the one thing from I just
That man's crafty. He is.
Jokic is different, and I know.
Oh, yeah.
In a series, in a game against him, Stu got 6 fouls to give.
Oh, absolutely. and you got to give him all, because you know he's only going to play 19, 20 minutes anyway. And I think that this Nuggets game, not to preview it too much, but I think you're going to see, because I think the Pistons have a very good chance to win. But even when you talk about superstars in the NBA, you're going to look at Jokic and be like, that dude's even different than Tatum. Like Jokic is arguably the best player in basketball.
Amazing, and he averages what Cade averages.
Well, a little bit above,
little
but
bit above,
in
yeah.
terms of benchmarks, yeah,
a little bit
yeah,
above.
yeah.
A little bit above.
No, I mean, but
No, he's the guy.
Yeah, Jokic
No,
is one that you're happy to tip your cap to. I mean, I'm honestly, and I know we've clowned on the Celtics a lot, I'm even happy to tip my cap to Tatum. That was a well-played game. He's a great player. He answered a lot of questions with helping lead the Celtics to a championship last year. Shout out to you. But last night, in the second half, you got clamped.
Got clamped.
Is what it
clamped.
is.
People, Jalen Brown wasn't there. I'm like, what? Oh, you mean like the other All-Star on their team?
About to
Right.
say,
Like,
like-
what are we
like-
talking about?
Right.
Cade is
And
the
thank
only
you,
All-Star.
everybody in the chat. Nobody's even mentioned Jalen Brown not playing, because who cares? Who cares?
Yeah,
The
Might not have made
Celtics
that
are
much of a
arguably the
difference.
best roster in the league.
This is what I love. Randall Smalls. You guys are so funny being so old and seeing all of his teams good at the same time. I'm afraid it's a dream. I'm so excited. And that's amazing. Like, have we ever seen this?
No.
And that's the
Nope.
thing.
No.
We're not the only person in here that's like a super young buck is Chase. We've been through a lot as a Detroit
I've seen
sports
some
fans.
things.
We've seen some things.
Some stuff.
What up, though,
I
Chase?
seen it.
What up,
Hey,
though,
what's
brother?
up? I mean, hey,
Your perspective on all of this, man. All
I can't
four
help
teams
when my
right
parents decided to have sex and make me like,
Yo, shout out.
like that's what happens. That's how babies are made. I understand how that works. I'm not in control of any of that. I just pop out when I pop out.
They
Takes
made sure
time.
you were ready for this era.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to pop out and show them, Chase.
Yo, we have an opportunity to be a part of the best era in Detroit sports history, man. And it's because these teams are, y'all know the word, percolating right now. Red Wings,
And
Pistons,
we
get it
have hit our like goal,
Hey!
or our donation goal as well. Too. Shout out to Justin for
done. Oh, the
sending
lights
this
and the
in.
donations?
We're almost Yep, 139 right now. So we're almost there as well too. But we hit our goal donation for the day. Shout out to Justin, $4.99. After last night, I had to go back and watch the clip of KD talking up Cade and Pistons a few years back. How times have changed. April and the D, here we come.
Man, you know what? We're gonna have to get those shirts. I know JB has been cooking up a lot of different things. We're gonna have to get those shirts as well as the 42 wins.
Hey, I'm with that.
Hey, I can't wait. I can't wait. Let's say what up though to some friends, and we'll get back for everybody's favorite segment. God. Hey, you might be challenged today, JB Smooth, because them Pistons have been hot.
Don't touch me. I'm sizzling. Mellow Yellow sizzling. You better stop playing with Mellow Yellow.
God. Hey, you know what? For the nickname debate, it was something that I pondered. Someone else was like, no, I forget who said it, but they hit me up and were like, you know what? I think he's like Kobe and Shaq. I think he's just a one-name star. You know what Cade said last night?
They said that on Heavyweights like 2 days ago.
I posted this. I think all of us have kind of been percolating about it as well. It's like, you know what? Cade, that debate is settled.
He said it too. Yeah, he said he just wanted. If everybody that don't know what I'm talking about, the post game interview with Cade last night, Tim Hardaway Jr. walked up to him and was like, "Yeah, boy, good game, Mellow Yellow." And then he told the reporter he didn't want to be called Mellow Yellow. Is literally he just wants his name to be Cade. But I mean, Mellow Yellow, it's got a nice little ring to it.
I prefer just Cade.
Well, we know that. You the fun police.
Dude, Mellow Yellow is 4 syllables. That's way too much.
He's Cade. I mean, even the All-Star logo with the 2 seeds, it's seeds. It's almost like, you know what? It's just Cade.
Yeah,
no, you're right. I am the fun police, so it's on brand for me. But I think on this one, I got a leg to stand on. That Cade's better than Mellow
Yellow.
Yes, just Cade. Mellow Yellow.
Just think about the endorsement deals. Like, come on now. I'm thinking ahead.
I mean, I suppose that's a good point.
You gotta just think logistically. Like, Cade, Mellow Yellow. It's so much easier to say Cade.
Cade. You know what, man? I can't wait. And I was telling people in media last night, as soon as those shoes drop, I am definitely making sure that my son has the experience that I have. And I'm going to also make sure I have the experience again, too. I'm going to buy myself the shoes and the jersey as well. Sorry, Kid Cooler. You're going to have to wait. Man. You'll get yours for Christmas. But no, like, I can't wait. But Cade, I think that's the name.
Cade is the name. And, man, has this been the most – God, what a fun show.
This has been one.
What a fun show. Just felt like I was hanging with the boys. I mean,
Pistons carried a whole show, though.
It's always like that, but today was even. There was so much kumbaya in the chat. Everybody, whether you've been bought in this whole time, whether you're back in, I don't care. It's just we're all in on the Pistons right now.
Smash that like button.
It's wonderful to see. I love it so much, but shoot, we're so behind on reads. What do we got, JB? I can't even keep up.
Did we do Les Stanford?
We did not do Les Stanford.
Les Stanford.
Let me take one big breath before that one.
Yeah.
It's the Les Stanford sign and drive sale.
A lot of words.
Get 2024 vision for only $200.